Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, Rising VTuber and artist, and today we will be continuing the work that we started on last Thursday, I think. Yeah, this would have been last Thursday. I thought I would have more time over the weekend and on Friday to wrap this one up. I, in fact, did not. there were there were a few different complications that occurred, which I will not get into the details of for everybody's benefit and my own. Okay. I see I wrote some notes here. Add stars and double check flup. I think that's supposed to be flip. But yeah, that's kind of what I was doing just now. Just wanted to double check that the picture was more or less even if I flipped it. And I do think I need to maybe recenter some things a little bit, and maybe the arms need a little bit more work too. For example, this one is a little bit higher up and it looks a little bit off. So what we can do is just actually grab this part here. And then... that's not the right pen. Let's try that again. I don't know. I drew the thumbnail for Saturday's stream just last Saturday, but it feels like it's been ages since I've drawn something. I don't know, it feels very strange. I've been busy with my sketchbook though. I've been going through this book about architecture and building styles that have been really enlightening about a lot of different things. Mainly the kind of cause and effect of certain building styles. Like, for example, Gothic architecture. No, not Gothic. The one that was before the Gothic. The Romanesque, right. So Romanesque architecture actually had a lot of emphasis on rounded semicircular arches, which looked really cool. They were cooking with that. But then but the problem is that these rounded arches, they needed a lot of wall support. They couldn't stand on their own quite as easily. So a lot of the Romanesque era architecture had a huge emphasis on these super thick, mega dense, caked up walls, right? Conversely, the next wave of Gothic architecture actually didn't need quite as thick of a wall, and in fact it was actually known for having fairly thin stone walls that were very delicately carved because of one simple switch that they made, which was to go from semicircular arches to a more stable pointed arch. For whatever reason, a pointed arch requires way less wall support, and so they were able to really go ham on thin walls. But yeah, that's a couple of things that I've learned. Honestly, very interesting stuff. I also learned that the term for non-architectural designed buildings is vernacular buildings, which is good as a way to look up buildings that weren't made by architects, which tend to be very interesting and have a lot of mindfulness about local materials, you know, the cultures that exist that built those things. I don't know, I feel like it's more informative to creating a lived-in world than just having a random ass building that some dude decided and was like, yes, I shall give it 5 more trusses. Which, you know, I'm sure those trusses were important, but it doesn't inspire much in me. How did you get betrayed? Let's just say that soup fought back. It slammed the door on its way out. I'm currently on a bland food diet, and it's been testing me in some ways. I don't think it was a soup is a thing. I don't think it was a soup is a thing, because, like, it didn't hit until the next morning. It's kind of a fascinating little mystery that I've been trying to solve in my head about the cause of my suffering. Is it too much fiber? I don't know. It could be. Okay, I'm gonna extend this bit of the hair. I don't know. Usually my body processes fiber like a champ. They used to call me the paper mill at school because I would just process so much fiber. That's not true, but it would be funny to think about. Or I guess you could call yourself the Loom too. I guess if you wanted yourself like a fiber centric nickname, I guess you could call yourself like the Cotton Gin, maybe. I don't know. There's like a lot of. I'm thinking like plant fibers, natural fibers, fibers for weaving cloth, etc. There might be other fibers that I'm not thinking of as well, like muscle fiber. Honestly, I think this is about as symmetrical as it's gonna get. Whenever you talk about school paths, I think about you, but even smaller with a pinwheel hat and a lollipop. Yeah. I never actually, I doubt there were a lot of people who did actually get to wear the pinwheel hat and the lollipop, but I do feel like it bears mentioning that for a very, very long period of time in my childhood, I used to very adamantly wear a golfer cap and fingerless gloves because I thought they were cool. And that was like my look growing up. It was very cringe, but in retrospect, I do think I rocked it. You know, looking at the past with kind eyes. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like I did recently get a chance to look at some not childhood necessarily pictures of myself, adolescent age pictures of myself. And it's crazy how much I was like a butterfly that still needed time in the cocoon. You really do radiate old Chinese uncle energy. That's a charitable way of looking at it. The stars of the tail are white. What the hell? Why am I doing? Why am I filling them yellow? I knew they were white. Why did I make them yellow? God. I mean, you're a kid. I'm glad you explored. Yeah. No, I definitely got a pretty. I've definitely had a really good childhood. You know, very loving family, caring family. Got into some scrapes and nothing that broke a bone. Although I do have a bald spot somewhere on my human head, so you know, debatable as to whether you can say it was like completely unscratched. God, that was a funny day. Really stupid of me, but really funny. I should not be. Hang on, I need to like grab this. All right, I'm gonna keep these on a separate layer, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to. Do I have this flipped again? I do have it flipped again. Gosh dang it. Okay. Why? Why did you miss just that section? Oh heavens. I will say, I do think that I do kind of miss just generally exploring stuff because I feel like I've seen everything that there is to see in the place that I live that I can access without a car. I miss living in this place where there was like a really robust metro system and I could just go around exploring shit for as long as I felt like. Granted, I don't have the summer vacation time that I would need in order to do that, but it would still be nice from time to time. I do miss those idyllic days of just wandering around, kind of bumfuck lost, not really knowing where to go. Isn't your vacation time soon? Not really. I mean, well, actually, no, that's not true. I have a long weekend coming up, actually. Thank you for reminding me to be happy about that. I do have a long weekend coming up this Friday and next Monday, so I am quite looking forward to that. But yeah, no, I actually still haven't booked my vacation properly. Yeah, weekend is good. Honestly, the thing they don't tell you as an adult is that time goes by faster But like a day is so much longer. Like they don't tell, like the thing that they don't tell you when you're a kid is like 1 day off as an adult is like 3 days off as a child. Like you just get shit done so much more quickly. That's definitely, it's something that is worth looking forward to, I think. 1 day as an adult lasts 5 minutes. Yeah. That's like a working day, though. For me, like, working days are super short. Like, I wake up, I groggily get myself some bread or whatever I'm having for happen to be having for breakfast that day. Go to my place of employment, zone out for 5 hours. Ideally, get something done, and then come back and eat something else and maybe stream. And that takes like anywhere to like 3 hours in total. 3 hours, like that day lasts 3 hours. But a vacation day, if I wake up early, the vacation day can last 2 weeks. If I play my cards right. That's the main thing, is that you do just need to wake up early even on your days off. Genuinely, that puts so much time into my hands. It actually pissed me off one time. Like I was feeling pumped. I was like, "Oh man, I've gotten so much done today. It feels great." And it was like 11. Funny times. Okay, she does have dark palms as well. I need to bear that in mind. And then the clown makeup. I'm gonna actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to remove the little line here, because I feel like it's going to be more effective for the character to just have the complete neck be covered. Yeah, these two are basically the same color. Let's see. I will say it is also something that I've learned recently that I think starting to read more often has helped me a lot with, is learning my limits. Because yesterday evening I was reading through this architecture book that I was talking about, right? I was like, okay, listen, we have to, the little receipt that I have magnetized on my fridge says that I gotta return these by the 30th. It is the 28th. We gotta lock in and finish these books. I finished one of the books that I had borrowed over the weekend, and it was good. It was neat. It was mostly a retelling of the whole fiasco with the Fire Festival, although it did have some interesting new perspectives and insights into... I think I messed up the lines here, actually. Hang on. Might need to redo these, because I think I made them much thicker than they needed to be. They look much thinner. They have the little, whatchamacallit, like the catfish barbell thing at the end. I actually put it over the shoulder, actually. That might be a good idea. I could swing that, yeah. Okay, then just bring this down like this. Okay. Might actually need to bring this one up a little bit like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then... Yeah, those look cute. I think those go over the shoulder really well. Okay, let's go with that then. Oh, but the one on the left looks a lot thinner than the one on the right, though. I can fix that, actually. Hang on. I know exactly how to fix that. We just need to plonk this one down a little bit like this, and then patch up a couple lines. Okay, what color is the little barbell? Like that? What is that? Where that? Huh? Do you feel like you accomplished a lot this hard fight? I think I did. I don't feel like I did, but but on paper I really did. I've been kind of killing it out there. I don't know. I'm happy with the amount of work that I've been able to accomplish. I do think I do think like this has definitely been one of my better years in terms of productivity. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. I don't know. Sometimes it feels difficult to be like, oh yeah, I feel like I no, I do. I don't know. Like what? Hang on, I didn't mean to turn her to flip her upside down. Something about the eyes is bothering me. I think. Hang on. Maybe. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. But yeah, I don't know. An issue that I've had in the past that I don't think has ever really gone away from me is that after I do something that takes a long time, I'm just kind of meh. Like it that's the thing, right? When I do accomplish a lot in a very small amount of time, I'm obviously very proud of myself. But like when it's something that's been spread over several weeks and days, when I get to the end, I'm like, all right, guess that's a wrap. It feels strange to be excited for it. Like I feel like I don't usually get that excited over it. It's a very strange way to live. And I'm not sure why I live this way in particular. But it's just kind of how it happens. But yeah, objectively, this has been a really good year for me. I'm really happy that I was able to draw as much as I could. I'm more and more regretting that I haven't been turning on time lapses for these. Yeah, usually you're swamped. I think that's what made the biggest difference. Is I think I kind of got to see what it felt like to just draw without feeling constrained by external factors. Hilariously enough, some stuff has come up that mean that I'll be constrained yet again, very very soon. I'll try to like manage it as best as I can. I'm hoping to never just just like double speed the VOD. That could work. Although I did draw some off stream, so that's gonna be a little bit tough. I could do something similar to what I did for one of my for that anniversary. Whatchamacallit. Wait, no, that's the same problem. I was gonna say I could do the same thing that I did for that one anniversary video that I dropped, where I took like little screenshots of different VODs throughout the years, and that looked really nice. But it also did not create. Hang on. It still doesn't solve the issue that I didn't record some of these. Those are just kind of lost to time. Which is a shame, but it is what it is. Okay, for the eye... Ooh, the eye is really detailed. I'm glad she zoomed in on it. Let's put it as blue for now. Coloring the barbell. The hat also has that blue, that kind of a nice light blue. You know what always bugged me about English? There's no way to say light blue with panache. You always have to do the compound word thing. In Spanish, you just say celeste, but that's like that's not feasible in English. You know, if you were somebody who called a light blue celeste, like, oh yeah, it's a lovely celeste color, you know, you'd still be right. Yeah. You would still be right, but I get the feeling that if you did that in public, somebody would reply with like that one pic of like blood orange. It's red. Come on. You can go periwinkle? Periwinkle has some sauce. Yeah, blood orange. Have you ever seen that meme? Really good one. I always get that flashing in my head whenever I try to be too fancy with like word descriptors or such. I don't know. It's like my own canary in the coal mine. If I start getting flashes of that guy in my head, that's when I know I've dug too deep and drank too much. Drank too deep of the well. Okay. Okay, we still need to color in the hoop, which I'm going to just color a normal golden color. Maybe something different from that. I love this, by the way, clown. She's really cute, yeah. Again, realizing that I have the canvas flipped. That's gonna be a running theme with this one. I made it too symmetrical, and now I can't tell which way is the normal way. Okay, the nail pattern is blue, yellow, red, blue. Okay. Blue. Oh, that's perfect, actually. Blue, yellow, red, blue. Okay, the index finger is yellow. My bad. Unless it's the same way both ways? Which is possible. I think she's ready for shading. Let's get at it. I'm gonna start with the stars down here because I could use some metallic shading in my life. No, not quite. That's a little bit too big. I need maybe slightly smaller and also more reddish, I think. Like a brighter color and more... Yeah, like that. Right, actually I should determine the light source first. I do think it's just gonna come straight down, honestly. Actually, that makes my life a lot easier with the star. I do wonder if there is supposed to be a proper order of operations where you're supposed to shade stuff. I usually just kind of go pick a spot and start shading. I don't usually think about it too much. I don't know, maybe it's a good idea to start off with like things that have more reaction to the light though, because that'll set the tone for the rest of the thing. On the other hand, if you start with the areas that have less reaction, you might be able to go back and fix them later on. Much to consider. Hmm. Okay, this is gonna go in like this. The part of the process hurts my brain, but the result is so good, right? 100% worth it. Wait, hang on. I could just kind of select this, go like this, go like that. Yeah, that actually works much better. I do think that might be a little bit too saturated though, so maybe we can just bring that down. Or wait, no, hang on. There's a better filter for this. So brightness and contrast. We reduce the contrast but increase the brightness. Yeah, I think that might be the way. Just a little bit more saturation wouldn't hurt though. Okay. Perfect. I'll leave those alone for now. I feel like I'll come back to them later, but right now we have other things to focus on. For example, the huge fluffy tail. Oh yeah, I forgot that we're gonna have to. Actually, I'm gonna get plenty of practice for shading stars right like this because I do think, with the sheer number of them that are around, it's gonna be kind of a miracle if I don't get better at it. Actually, that's a good idea. Hang on, why did I think of that? Hang on, metal star. Just a Google image would be fine. All these are like those very harshly pointed stars, but what about... This is actually kind of tough to find a good reference for because, again, all of these are like these Christmas stars. I don't really see one that's... What the f... The tiny knitted Gap hoodie is really killing me. I don't know. There is something very charming about tiny little doll-sized clothes made especially for dolls. What? ¿Por qué está ahí Goku? Hang on. Reflective flat star. Ooh. This is kind of neat, but not really what I'm looking for. I'm not doing it like this, but these are really cool. Wait, what's it? I saw this one with like a cheetah. Oh, it's an eye. Huh. For what purpose, precisely? Oh, probably taxidermy, huh? Reflective star. Yeah, no, I think we're on our own for this one. Worth a shot. It's always helpful to find a reference or two. Okay. And there we go. And we can do a slightly darker color as well, leading further down. That's a little bit too dark, though. I don't want this to be like a huge... Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, very nice. And we can add a couple of little bits of fluff and fuzz here and there. Yeah, I'll figure out those stars in just a minute. For now, I kind of wanted to do the tail. And the cool part about this tail is that I want to make it like... Well, the cool part about the tail is that it's got a super fluffy part at the end. But the part that I want to focus on a little bit is actually using a specific hatching brush to make it look more furry. Yeah, here we go. I used this one a lot for the attack on Sif earlier too. Earlier, I say as if I did it earlier today. That was more than a week ago. In the blink of an eye, July has kind of come and gone. And with it, there were a lot of good things and bad things. We are kind of ending the month on a slightly crappy note, all things considered. But you know what? Maybe August will be better. Hopefully. Please. Please. Alright. Okay, all we can do is hope. I suppose that's true. Hope and, you know, whatever we can take into our own hands, take into our own hands. Knowing your limits is good, but it is also human nature to try to surpass them. Okay. There's something very free and flowing about trying to render fur. Which I suppose is kind of the point. How many animal parts do you need to graft onto a humanoid body before it becomes a fursona? Quick question. Like, this sounds like a Ship of Theseus thing or like some kind of gotcha. I swear it isn't. How many animal parts do you have to graft onto a relatively humanoid body before it becomes a fursona? The maximum is something I'm not interested in, right? Pavs, have you seen stuff about the new Gumball season? Gumball has a new season? Actually, I never got the chance to watch Gumball growing up. I think once you change the head to an animal, it's a fursona. But even if the rest of it is like naked human parts, yeah, with 20 episodes. Oh, that's nice. No, but okay. Okay. I can accept that, though. Actually, you know what? I think that's a very reasonable metric, all things considered, because I do think the most defining characteristic of the furry, besides its head, is absolutely the way that the head's... The paws and everything, I mean, not the head. The head is the part that I was getting to. Like, those people who only have the head and paws and tails for fursuits. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it, even people have all kinds of opinions on, you know, how to render the furry arms, furry legs. You know, should they be digitrade? Oh, but I prefer mine to look more humanoid. Yada yada yada. But the one thing they all agree on, the one common ground, is the head. The head always has this very specific look to it. So I think you're absolutely right in that you can Ship of Theseus speedrun having a fursona by just slapping a furry head on something. Thank you for solving that particular philosophical quandary. That's genuinely a weight off my mind. Actually, it's not really a weight off my mind. I just feel satisfaction in having that answered. No problem. I was surrounded by furries. You make that sound like they jumped you. You make that sound like they like a gang of them like beat you up in high school. I was surrounded by furries. Oh no! Did they jump you? Did they make you carry around stuff for them because like they didn't have pockets on the fursuit? God. That is kind of a bummer, right? I imagine that they do have pockets. They have little fans in their fursuits, but not pockets. The thing is, they might not have pockets in their fursuit, but I imagine that if an enterprising individual could just like stuff whatever in there, and as long as it didn't impede your walking and wasn't particularly fragile, you could just like traipse around with it in your suit. I have stuffed things into a jacket before that didn't have pockets, and it was perfectly fine because the jacket was big enough, and I could like hold it underneath the jacket, like fabric, without any issue. Although I do imagine that would exacerbate the existing ventilation issue. So, you know, but definitely kind of a forbidden technique, I imagine. The Trojan fursuit, I mean. Ooh. Suspiciously stuffed fursuit. God. There has to have been at least like one or two epic Ocean's 11 style heist committed at cons with people in fursuits just like quickly sticking the hand out of their mouth, nabbing something and then dragging it back in, never to be seen again, except perhaps on an unlisted eBay resale. Like that Pikachu picture, precisely like that Pikachu picture. Like bar for bar like that Pikachu picture. Oh yeah, I'm really liking what the hatching pen is doing for the fursuit. Not the fursuit, the legs. This isn't the suit. This is her legs. Unless it's not her legs. I don't know the lore that deeply. I fear it could very well be fursuit legs. We don't know for sure, and it wouldn't be polite to try and investigate directly. I don't know. She does have like a very mischievous look, so it could be like just for the bid in one single scene. She can just like take off the legs, and it's just normal human legs underneath, and then she pops them back on. But other times they are just in fact her real legs. I am glad that in the end I decided to go for like a more silly, goofy guy instead of a generic anime hot guy aura farmer for Pabs. I do think it's liberated in me in several ways. I mean, I still technically aura farm sometimes, but it's not like a defining character trait. Let's see. Wait, can you repeat that? All I heard is hot guy. I was gonna say that looking back, more and more, I am glad that instead of like making myself like a generic PNG tuber or anime hot guy for my VTuber persona, I did just make myself like some fucking thing. A bag of rice, that is. It has been liberating in several ways, and I'm not forced to aura farm for every single picture that I want to draw of myself. But like I said, I do still aura farm occasionally for sport rather than for out of necessity. I guess at that point it's not aura farming so much as it is aura gardening. Would it even be human paths, or like what would that even look like? That's a terrifying part. I don't know. Like I'm trying to imagine the most generic like V2 like again very loaded term male VTuber. And trying to imagine the most generic male VTuber I could think of myself, and all I can think of is like skinny and like maybe some different color hair. I don't know. It's very weird to think about. The problem is that I think no matter what I would have chosen to look like, I would have eventually just still been me. Like I wouldn't have been like Pabs the rice bag necessarily, but I would have still been very recognizably me. It's weird to think about. We could make that more vibrant. There was that one time I was thinking of like a redesign for myself, but even then I still made myself like fairly short and fat. By that point it was kind of hard-coded. I don't know. I was kind of thinking about this earlier. I was on my way back from the library after having renewed my architecture book, and I was like I was struck by this weird wave of like self-consciousness. You know what? You know how that happens sometimes. Like you'll just like feel very weirdly seen in public, and let me tell you, I did not enjoy that shit for the brief time it happened, but after that, I was literally like, wait, literally nobody cares. And plus, if I just straighten my posture and look straight ahead, I'm gonna still look incredible. Isn't that exciting? Is that what that is? Is that what that's supposed to feel like? Uh-oh. That's not good for me. Think we were inside your apartment a bit too long? That's possibly it. That and the day had also been like wearing on me a little bit. I do think I was at like a low sand moment. I was caught in like a vulnerable state of mind. When I'm shut off from the world, I get crazy anxious where seeing someone causes me to panic. Huh. That's tough though. I don't know. For me, it's like this strange horseshoe where if I'm outside regularly, it doesn't bother me what people might think of me in public. And when I've been inside for too long, it's also very much like that. Like it's very much like that one that one Banksy picture of like a rat that's like, I'm up and I'm wearing pants. What else do you want from me? But there's like this very strange part that happens sometimes where I'll just like get insanely self-conscious, but then it'll just like leave. I'll be like, oh, I'm just a little worm in the presence of real human beings, and then it'll be like and then 5 seconds later it'll be like, wow, that was weird. Let's not do that. That was a weird thing to think and say. I've only had to wear pants once this whole summer. Congratulations. I'm not strong enough to go all in on the no pants lifestyle. I for one quite enjoy pants myself, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for people who do decide like, you know what, pants ain't for me. Like I want to be free. Went a bit crazy, and now my whole closet is shorts. God. That does happen sometimes. The other day I realized I don't have any normal bed sheets because I threw them all when I was like trying to like spring clean. I thought I had like a backup somewhere, but I'd accidentally thrown them all out. I still had like my comforter and everything. I used that to sleep in for most of the year because the temperatures never really. How are they abnormal? Huh? Wait, how's what abnormal? I might have, if I said something I was abnormal, I might have forgotten. My bad. What did I say was abnormal? Did you say you had no normal bed sheets? Oh, yeah, no, I only have a comforter. Well, I only had a comforter for a little bit. I threw like my non-comforter bed sheets out. I thought I was crazy for a second. No. The crazy one was me for throwing away perfectly good normal bed sheets. The best way I can say it is like in Spanish, they're like sábanas. Like they're not like my bed still was covered. My bed still had like sheets fitted over it, but I didn't have like a loose sheet. Brother, it's both of us. There's something that's something to be happy about it to some extent, I suppose. It's nice to have company in that. But yeah, I realized I didn't have any sábanas, so I had to go out and buy some. Luckily, for whatever reason, the Canadian Tire near my house, I wouldn't call it exactly near my house, but the Canadian Tire in my town was selling some sets for a pretty decent discount, so I was able to get them back. We're holding hands and frolicking in a field. Yep. That's right. Or like that picture of two dogs on a mountain that are just like hugging. Yeah, no, it's been an absolute game changer because before I was waking up really sweaty and gross, and now I'm waking up normal and not gross. which is a market improvement. Joshua, my guy, yes, him. I feel like it's gonna be lost to folk knowledge why he's called Joshua. Like, I feel there has to be a reason why he's called Joshua, but I don't know why he's called that. Yeah, not waking up soggy has had a marked improvement on my lifestyle. Highly recommend. Unless you like it wet style, but like, you know, that's not me, certainly. What's with the camera? What's with the picture? Did I say something strange? That's too light, actually. Hang on. We need just a tiny bit lighter. That way we can really go ham on the hatching. That looks just desaturated, though. Damn it. Oh, wait, I know what to use. Brush. Make wash. No, that's also not quite right. Maybe the watercolor brush? Actually, I can make this work. Hang on. I need to grab the blender. I need to grab the blender. Me when I'm at the cooking show. That's always something that I really wondered in like Master Chef, right? You like whenever they are like your time starts now, they always haul ass to the kitchen and they grab like a blender or like whatever tools they might need for that particular dish. I know it's all premeditated and whatever, right? It's all like TV magic to make it look like they're all coming up with this on the spot. But all the same, it's like what do you do if somebody else grabs the last blender and you're kind of just out of luck? Do you need to specialty requisition one? Like, do you need to like raise your hand and be like, need a blender over here? It's not real. Heartbreak emoji. Aw. I mean, I imagine it's not. I mean, imagine there has to be some degree of improvisation to it for the competition to be legitimate. Surely it can't be that hollow and capitalistic. Not my Master Chef. But yeah, I am wondering, right? Like, what do you do if like some other dweebazoid naps a blender from you? Some people improvise by smashing the shit out of what they want to blend or swallow their pride and beg for a blender. That feels especially demeaning, actually. Having to like swallow your pride and ask for a blender feels like one of the most dehumanizing experiences I've heard of. I feel like that's the whole thing where like your teacher's like, I don't know, can you go to the bathroom? But like 10 times worse. Have you seen the clip of some lady asking for some butter for her steak? I haven't. If you've got that on hand, can you float it to me? I would love to see. Or maybe I wouldn't, actually. She had to beg for butter? Oh my god. Poor lady. That you really gotta feel bad for her. I don't care if she was a total jerk the whole competition through. If you're reduced to begging for butter, that is an incredibly rough state of mind to be in. I feel like. Like, especially with all that stress and everything. Listen, begging for food in the best of circumstances isn't great. Having to beg for food on national broadcast television is definitely worse. Rough times all around, truth be told. And the stakes are $1 million. That too. Like, that especially is just insane to think about to me. All that going on, and you've got $1 million Renos on the line. Nightmarish. Genuinely nightmarish. Okay. That's one half of the folds done. We just gotta do the other half. That should be good. Right, the body. I mean, this does feel like it'd be sort of more canvas-like material. I don't know if it'd be all shiny and stuff. Maybe this side would be shiny. I feel like that makes the most sense to me. We're about to see round 2 of that video that I posted that's like shading natural fabrics versus shading synthetic fabrics. I don't know, I feel like silk is the most commonly used material for this. I don't know, what did like acrobat suits used to be made out of? Because I imagine that's what this would be. Or like that's like the texture they were going for. I do know that they were supposed to be very shiny, but back in the day, maybe they weren't as shiny back in the day. You know, maybe back in the day, you were just some chump in like a cotton onesie, and they were like, go do backflips over this crowd of 4,000 people, and also if you fuck up, you're going to die, by the way. Because we haven't invented insurance yet, and our safety net is like made of tissue paper. Yeah, being an acrobat sucks. I mean, on the one hand, part of your job is to be in peak physical condition, but on the other hand, the cost, like the entire motivation to be in peak physical condition is so you don't end up a smear on the ground. So it's kind of a toughie. It's a tough negotiation. In that regard, I feel like the acrobats definitely lose out a little bit to like the world's strongest man or you know whatever strong person they have, gender neutral strong person they have at the circus nowadays. Fuck OSHA, all my homies are dying at work today. God. It's crazy that it really was exactly like that for like a lot of human history. Well, not a lot. Definitely a huge portion in the 1800s leading up to the kind of establishment of OSHA and, you know, unions and whatnot. Definitely kind of in that period is when that sentiment I feel like would have had the most ground. Although I guess at that point it would have been fuck the regulation. All my exploited workers are dying today, which doesn't have quite as much of a ring to it. God, we really did not go far enough on antitrust laws, did we? We should have tripled down on those shits when we still had the chance. Well, all we can do is fight for the battles we've got for today. That's the way it is. And hopefully the way it should be. Can you imagine if you were fighting the battles for tomorrow, too, in addition to the battles for today? That shit would be exhausting. And don't even get me started on the battles for yesterday. I met a guy once who was fighting the battles for yesterday, and he had this mournful look in his eye, like he was borrowing grief from both the past and the future simultaneously. That shit will kill you. That person was me? Oof. Well, hang in there, bud. I'm sure better days await ahead. Statistically speaking, that's the only place you'll find them. Tautologically speaking, better days are ahead. Like, they have to be. Like, where else would they be? Right? Like, better days are ahead. Yeah, that's true, because, like, they couldn't be... The better days could not be behind me, because that's already the best days I've had. / worst days. Better days ahead. Yeah, I should hope that they would be. Yeah, I'm gonna remove this highlight. It's not really doing anything. A meme that I've never understood the context of, but I always find uproariously funny whenever I see it, is that one that's like, what does he even do? I don't know why it kills me. I just think it's the funniest thing ever. I feel like it describes a lot of my professional career. Somehow I feel like my whole role in my office job is to be vital for things, is to basically be like, what the hell does he even do? Like a lot of the time, but then like in the few times I do come in clutch, they're like, oh, all right, yeah, that's why we pay you. Right, now I remember. It's not a bad cycle, to be honest. It feels nice to be needed. Okay, that's gonna shade in. That's gonna drop in like this. Isn't your job really important? I kind of shake my hand non-committally. Kind of not. Am I replaceable? Absolutely. Is it important? In the sense that society will fall apart without it? Not really, no. Is it valuable? I mean, yeah, probably. Do I find it fulfilling? Depends on the day you ask me. Some days I do really love my job, because some days I'll just be able to like fire off an email and feel like I'm in fucking the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I just shot off somebody's hat. I've sent some banger emails in my time. But other days, it really does feel like just like, why are we all still here? Genuinely, why are we all still here? Oh, lordy. Job satisfaction, it's a tricky thing. The main problem is that like this is the only job I've ever had, so I don't know what'll actually bring me satisfaction. So I'm really just kind of content to keep going on the same path that I've always been. And I'll be for real, this isn't really a quitting economy, so it's not really the time to go around shopping for what will fulfill me. Although I might need to do that out of necessity rather than desire soon. But we'll see. We'll have the answers for that on August 8th. August 8th is a big day for me. Everything will be decided on that day. The thing is, like, there are jobs that are in fact important, right? There are some jobs that I will not argue are important. Like doctors, that's an important job. Like train drivers and bus drivers, that's an important job. Ship captains, that's an important job. But otherwise, especially in the context of like an office job, the title and your role isn't really so much important as what you actually do. And sometimes what I do does not feel all that important. In fact, a lot of the times it does feel like I'm just bothering people for the fuck of it. Which, don't get me wrong, is somewhat fulfilling in its own way. But it is disillusioning to some extent. They made a show about this? What show is that? Severance? Ah, nice. I've never seen Severance, but I did reference a poster for one of its seasons on one of my schedule arts. Like, there's a very cool poster that they made for one of the seasons where it had the guy who had, like, half of his head open, and the head was, like, a cubicle. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Yeah, this one. Here we go. This poster, I referenced it in one of my stream. I saw that and didn't put two and two together. Hang on, let me see if I can fish the actual art from out of here. This one? It might be before this, actually. No, that's not it. That's not it. Okay, it's after this. What week was that? Oh, found it. The week of August 29th, 2024. Let's see. 2408 29? Huh. That's weird. Is it this one? No, that's not it. There's no way it's been that long. It's been that long. Hang on. Wait, this is July. Oh, that's why. It's July 29th, not August 29th. I see. Here we go. Don't do this to me. No, wait. No fucking shot. This was a year ago today. Nah. Nah. I was still playing Yakuza 0. Feast your eyes. This is August 1st. Also, this is the art in question. I'm watching Northern Lion, and I have like a picture of Nina my Ina niece on the wall. That's crazy. Oh my gosh! A year to the day. Something feels cosmically fulfilling in this. I don't know. I feel like you just kind of you just kind of did the answer to life is 42 type shit here. Like you just kind of hit the nail on the head by bringing that up. Also, I'm realizing now that some of this shading was kind of nothing. Let me go back and repair some of that. God. What a year, huh? If you think about it, a lot of different things have happened. That was back when I was still only streaming once a week for a long, long time. Yeah, back then I had gotten right back into this new study module, and I needed the time to kind of catch up on what I was doing. It was a productive time, although I was very stressed. The fact that I went back to school, I'm back in the fucking building again! Time is a flat circle, brother! Start appreciating the curve! I do think it is important to note that if the circle... Actually, I think I graduated during that time. God. That is I do think that is some kind of wisdom, though. If you don't learn to appreciate that time is a flat circle, you're going to be completely fucked by that curve. Accepting things, living with things, being content with things. As time passes, all of these things become easier. That doesn't make them any less messed up, though. I have found that the system of creating a fold in the fabric during the line art stage and then erasing it on purpose during the... What do you call the, during the shading stage has actually been going very well for me. Reaping and sowing, reaping and sowing. I love me some reaping and sowing. That's not the right layer. There we go. Oh, hang on. Leo, my friend Leo has just sent me something. Oh my goodness! Hang on. That's so cute. Hang on. Let me hang on. Let me put that up on the Jumbotron. Look at that. That's so cute. Oh my gosh. You've done a really good job with this one. I really like that the dog has no eyes now. Very nice touch. Well, I say the dog as if both of them aren't dogs. This is so cute. Hang on. I'm gonna... Let me save this properly. So I can put this thing up on the... Format... Okay, and format equals PNG. Save that. I'm Joshua before they used me to power 5G towers. It is messed up that was his ultimate fate. He sacrificed everything so that we may be able to download pictures on our phones slightly more faster. There we go. I like that this bottom corner is going to become like some kind of little fridge to set up for little fan arts and such. Hang on, I gotta rearrange these a little bit. Your fan art specifically, that's right. You got special privilege. This isn't the wall of fame, this is just the wall of Leo. Hmm. Might be a good idea to start working on the scarf back here. Also, when I was shading the legs, I was really committed that I was really worried that I'd been overcommitted to it, but I forgot that that was the only part of the body with fur. Actually, this one would have a little bit of light up here. Meh. Honestly, yeah, no, I'm gonna go full shade on the ribbon. I'm also gonna soften out the part of where the shadow drops back here. Just seems like the right move. Actually, why not add a little bit of shadow down here too, while I'm at it. It's gonna give it a nice little fluorescent effect. I don't think that's the right term, actually, but we'll roll with it. I think that's too much. Hang on. Feel like I need to... I don't know how to put it. That felt like it gave her too much head out. Too much Z-axis head. If that makes any sense. Okay. Let's... Okay, that's pretty good, and then... Not quite. Okay, yep, that's better. Actually, this kind of works for the canvas material that I was kind of envisioning for the suit. Actually, hang on. I'm going to make a bold move right here. It's gonna trim down this particular sleeve. Yeah, I think because that looks more symmetrical with this one, it just looks a little bit better. Okay, and then... Perfect. Okay. Feels good so far. I do feel the kind of green goblin mask in my head telling me to increase the saturation and contrast, but I'll need to resist for just a little while longer. It is not yet the time. Gotta drink some water, hang on. I need to wash my water bottle today, so I'm actually drinking out of a more conventional plastic polyurethane bottle, I believe. Or PET bottle, whatever they call it. Polyethylene, maybe? Hang on, what does PET stand for? Polyethylene terephthalate. Huh. Alright. Gonna forget that right now. literally already left. Read that once, I was like, alright, and now it's fully out. Net zero information gain. I'm not gonna remember that ever. Polyurethane at least like rolls off the tongue nicely. Polyethylene? You know what? I can rock with polyethylene, but polyethylene, what was that second part? Terephthalate? That's a little bit, that's a bigger ask. I feel like that one's a bigger ask to remember how to kind of like brain pronounce. Like there was this one horse girl from that very popular mobile game called like Matikane Fukukitaru. And I genuinely just like key mashed to find her whenever I couldn't remember her name until like I finally like sat myself down and was like, all right, listen, we should probably learn the full syllables to her name so we don't look like a jackass trying to talk about her, because she's really funny. And so I learned the syllables, and you know what? After much consideration, the syllables do roll off once you like get the rhythm down to it. Mati kane fuku kitaru. Like there's almost like a rhythm to it. You can enjoy it. But terephthalate? I think I'm only going to remember that because I'm saying it so much now. No sauce at all. No wonder they just call it PET. Terephthalate, more like terapathetic. Boom. Devastated. Okay. Actually, yeah, that looks much better. God. Having to eat bland foods these days really has been kind of a test to me, because it feels like reality is fucking with me sometimes. I will, for as much as I admire absurdism and like the idea that there is no particular reason for why anything happens in this universe, I will say it is much more comforting to be like God is testing me when I'm on this bland food diet and like I see that somebody's brought in like 3 pizzas to the office break room for whatever reason unannounced. I genuinely felt like I could see something like willpower increasing in the corner of my eye. I felt that shit in my soul. Yes. That's important though. It's good to exercise your willpower in small situations like that, because even if you do fuck it up, it's not like ruinous, but if you don't exercise it, there will still be consequences. You need to have situations like that, because otherwise you're going to be someone who is unable to handle the consequences of any choice they make, and thus they will leave it to others, ultimately robbing themselves of the capacity for freedom. That is something that I want to get better at. Is just like, rather than going with the flow, is just making a choice for myself. Because I feel like 80% of the life decisions that I've made are just me kind of going with the flow, with like maybe one or two bigger schemes in the background, with one or two ambitions going on. But other than that, it's just kind of been going like, yeah, I guess that'll work. Sure, why not? And generally like leaving it to other people. It's demeaning. It's not healthy. You have to learn to make choices and go out and do stuff for yourself. It's not just a vital skill to have as an adult, but it's also just empowering in a way few things are. The ability to recognize that you are responsible for your own choices. You know, it is scary. It is scary knowing that you could mess up, and it is even scarier knowing that at some point you will have to mess up, because that's just kind of how statistics works. But you know what? It's not all bad. I do think you need that fear of wanting to be prepared and wanting to make the right decision in order to be a responsible person. I will say, that being said, sometimes just making decisions just because you need to make a decision isn't always the smartest thing. Sometimes it really does just work out that not making a decision in the heat of the moment is what's best, because sometimes that shit just kind of works itself out and you don't need to really go full ham on anything. It saves you energy. It prevents you from having to really commit to something in the future. But you know, it has its ups and downs. Like sometimes things genuinely are not that serious. That's the thing whenever I talk about this sort of thing. I'm worried that eventually some guy who is as neurotic as I am will one day listen to this VOD and be like, you know what, he's right. And out of like compulsion will need to order a different thing off of the menu every time he goes to a restaurant. Like he's not doing it because it's just something he does, it's doing it because he thinks it's the right thing to do. And like that's also a weird way to live. Just FYI. A little bit of spontaneity isn't bad, but like, there's a reason why complacency seems to be the default state of being for a lot of people. Generally, if you find something that works, you don't really need to do too much to it. If it works, right? Of course, then there's the whole thing of like, you know, are your habits the products of a life fully lived, or the products of, you know, laziness, contempt, lack of yada yada yada. Whatever that one Friedrich Nietzsche or Franz Kafka quote went like. I guess at the end of the day, it really does depend on how much pressure you feel to get out and to get out of your day, because I feel like somebody who is definitely like neurotic and in a panic about trying to get as much out of life as possible definitely has that perspective. But like somebody who's like getting enough out of life and is like, you know what, I'm actually pretty happy with how I am. You know what, I don't think they would see as much value. Then again, it's also possible they would be like, but you know, I do feel pretty satisfied with my life, but should I be? And, you know, then there's that kind of concern. This is all to say that you can't really create a perfect statement that'll satisfy every condition at every given moment. We mostly just say things that are broadly applicable to us and hope that they are broadly applicable to others as well. And sometimes we realize that that's really not the case. Like, that's what that whole meme, like, your experiences are not universal is about. I'm glad that one dropped. It's very useful as both like a sounding board and just as a reaction in general. Actually, I had an idea for how to shade this part here. So, a while ago, I did this shading style where I was trying to, like, depict, like a wet surface. And the way that I did that is that I created, like, a airbrush part right around here. That is not the airbrush. An airbrush part like that. And then right in the middle, I would make a big gap. That kind of works. I mean, sorta. I think we're going to need to use something different than the shading color, though. Like, maybe something with more... Honestly, that could work. Let's try it out over here. Okay, we just need to blend this out a little bit. I'm not sure if that's super working, but it communicates the intent well enough, and that's good. That's all I needed to do, really. Actually, maybe I should do something with the boob here. I should definitely also shade the other side of the boob. How did that thing that I do go? I need to make it a little bit higher, and then like this, and then just do it right in the middle. Yeah, that's the one. And then just blend it out. Yeah, there we go. Actually, that's something worth considering. Let me try that, actually. Rather than this method, which I feel like has its flaws. Okay, we're actually going to use a very slight gradient. Actually, let's just select this whole thing. Very, very slight gradient. Slight darken. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use gradient erase. But, no, we didn't, oh, here's what we can do. Gradient erase, so it's starting from all the way up here. That should still leave plenty for... but that looks weird too. Rats. Maybe we just do it again with a gradient erase. We need something that's not perfectly white so it has something to contrast with. Yeah, like that. There we go. This is working out great, actually. Okay, let's try this. That's working pretty well, honestly. Let's use that. And also, while we've got this area selected, actually. Okay, we'll do it this way, and then we'll also do it this way. Nice. We can also do that for the boobs here, actually, come to think of it. Okay, we're going to use... Okay, what's a good color between these two? It's like right here. Just a tiniest little bit. And then just blend it out. Okay. What else do we have to do? Right, the other boob. I'd forgotten about that. I don't know what's more messed up, trying to do each line by line, or trying to do them like this. Actually, in either case, we'd have to just kind of reach in there, huh? Gotta go. Hope you have a good rest of your stream. Thank you. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the fan art, too. It's really cute. Okay. This might be too bright of a yellow, actually. Yeah, that's definitely too bright of a yellow. This should be more suitable. No, that looks gross and weirdly brown. Or, not even brown, kind of like this kind of mucus color. Not very nice. Here? Maybe this one will be it. That's still kind of the same color as before, but not as bad. We will take it. I'm sure it'll look much better once it's blended out. Surely it'll have to, right? Is this the right move? Hang on. Let me check something. Okay. Pretty conclusively, that is in fact the right move. Okay. Perfect. All right, and then... okay, I think we've got just some more on the cape, on the ribbon. Let's start with the little bits and bobs on the hair here. Okay. Yeah, alright, we just gotta shade the ears. That's easy enough. Actually, I want to add a little bit of shine to the barbells. And they remind me a lot of animal balloons that haven't been blown up just yet. That's actually what they remind me a little bit of. The barbells, I mean. Okay. There we go. Didn't even notice that there's a little bit of a line interception there. We can fix that right away, though. I kind of want to save the nose for last because it just looks like so much fun to shade. Something deeply intoxicating about shading a perfectly smooth orb. That's why all the shading practices and hatching practices have you do it, you know? They know how epic that feels. Okay, shrink this down. That's not the color that I was trying to use. What is that? There we go. Maybe just a slightly brighter color for the nose there. Cute. Okay. Let's do this. The hat. I do want the hat to have a silk ribbon. I do think that would be very fitting. There we go. Maybe making the brush a little bit thinner here will help. I'm also gonna take another sip of water here. Okay. Back to the grind. I do wonder how difficult it is to make these tiny hats relatively. Because I imagine that for clothing, right? Past a certain point, it's much more difficult to make it smaller. Like, of course you have the materials and some such, but, you know, making clothes for, like, a baby feels like it's probably not that hard. But it might actually be harder than usual because of the fact that you have to work with a baby's new human proportions. You know, babies come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them grow faster than others. So I'm guessing that's why a lot of it is adjustable. Just gonna give her a middle part. That seems like the most appropriate thing. And we can use the darker purple color, question mark? Purple? Question mark? To make the middle part. I do like the idea of the eyebrows just being a pair of floating jelly beans in front of the face. I don't know, that must be pretty comfortable, all things considered. You know, not really needing to worry about like where you deposit those suckers. Just if you want to wiggle them, you can wiggle them. All too often, I feel the constraint of having eyebrows. Like if you're wearing a hat or if you're wearing like a headband or something, you definitely feel that your eyebrows are there. And it's kind of inconvenient in a lot of the cases because, well, they're there. They're part of your head. And because of that, they're actually, they occupy mass, volume, all that good stuff. And while that's pretty epic and it's what allows you to wiggle your eyebrows so easily, it's also difficult to fit on certain things like, you know, some scuba gear, stuff like that. And they can be a tasty treat for later. That's true. Hi, Indala. You know what? I didn't think of that benefit to jelly bean eyebrows is that you can just snack on them if you run out of normal rations. It's like that guy from that one anime who had like a seaweed for eyebrows. Like I know that if I had seaweed eyebrows, that shit wouldn't last a day because I would be too busy like wrapping. It would get lunchtime. I would take out a nice thing of rice and I would like start munching on that with my own eyebrows. And then for the rest of the day, people would be like, "Where's your eyebrows? Where did your eyebrows go? You had eyebrows this morning when I saw you." And I'd be like, "I don't know what to tell you. After 12 p.m., you have to use my tone of voice to estimate my emotions." The eyebrows have clocked out. No more eyebrows today. I like the opposite of that gif of that little toy bear who slams its head down on a table and now it has angry eyebrows. It is incredible that for as little as I do actually have eyes, I still technically have the capacity for eyebrows. Thank goodness for that. It'd be really hard to like make my expressions if I didn't have at least like some semblance of an eyebrow. I'd have to completely reshape my face every single time I wanted to express myself, and that's just a pain in the ass. It's like having to go up, having to get up every time you wanted to use the fridge or something. You know, and you know that is the reality of the situation. But you know, imagine if you had to do that, but instead of like getting yourself a nice, refreshing drink or a delicious snack, it was that you had to like make an expression. You make so many expressions throughout the day. It's kind of ridiculous. You don't even really think about most of them. Hmm. Let's blend that out a little bit. No, that's not going to work. All right, we're going to use the airbrush instead. Or what if we just kept using the paintbrush? It's an alluring proposition. Actually, what we could do is we could just grab this, use a slightly darker color, and then use that as like the. No, because then it looks. It's kind of a delicate balancing act trying to maintain the pastel colors while also creating a striking shadow. Hang on, maybe we can do something like this. Maybe instead of, or actually no, I prefer to have it selected. Not that much darker, but definitely a little bit more saturated. Okay, that might have been the wrong way around. Yes, this will do nicely. Okay, maybe with the airbrush. No. I will say, however, that I do think that I should probably make this part dark because of the fact that it's like right where her sitting would be. Love the fur texture on the legs. Thank you. Honestly, just this darker part might be sufficient, and then we can do something further up here to make it less strange looking. This seems to be working pretty well. Assuming I managed to catch all the little spots that I need to shade. Okay, we'll grab this section here. And maybe we can have a little bit of a shadow at the border here. I think what's missing from the ribbon is that I don't have a true highlight yet. I think that's what we just need to add. It's gonna be super easy to add. Check this out. I say, praying with my hands clasped. You know what? That was actually pretty easy. All things considered. Does that look... we could... I think the issue with it is that the rest of this needs a little bit of love too. Okay, yeah, wait, hang on. That gave me an idea. I just had like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment. We just need to make everything angular. Yup. Okay. Okay, now we're in business. Now my brain is parsing everything correctly. Yes, yes. With the arms like that. Yup. Okay. Okay, yes. Okay. I love it when a plan comes together. And we can actually add an even darker color up here. And actually, we need to curve the boob shadow back up a little bit over here. Ironically enough, well, not really ironically, appropriately enough. I don't know what would be really ironic about a boob shadow. Maybe if it's like a shadow puppet boob. I don't think. No, that's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, is it? No, it's nothing. No. Let's not give this idea any more gas than it needs, which is to say none. Maybe I should have gone for the Plato's Cave approach. I feel like that might have had more success in terms of just the joke having legs. Moments pass though. Gotta let it go. Liking how that's coming along though. Just a nice little bit of shading on the belly to emphasize the shape. In addition to some other obligations that I have to take care of soon, I should try to make some time into my schedule to take my friend out to Korean barbecue or something. There's no particular special occasion. I just miss him and we haven't seen each other in a while. And quite honestly, I do have a little bit of a hankering for a Korean barbecue. That is partially the motivation for it. I don't know. I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh no, I can't go to a restaurant alone. I can go to any restaurant alone. But I do feel like the portions that they serve to you at a Korean barbecue place are such that you do need at least a second or something to kind of avenge you if you can't completely finish your plate. Like bringing a friend to a Korean barbecue isn't just a matter of courtesy, it is a matter of survival. You're gonna need that backup. Instead of that, we can just do it like this. Actually, yeah, that looks good. We can do that on the thighs too. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Oh yeah, we should do that same thing, but on the chest here. Come to think of it. God. I recently got myself a monitor arm for one of my monitors. For my second monitor, actually. Okay, so I have two monitors. And a long, long time ago, which is to say 2 years ago now, probably. Yeah, around 2 years ago, I would say. Maybe 3 years ago, actually. No, 2 years ago. It has to have been 2 years ago. Anyway, around 2 years ago, I got myself the desk that I'm currently using as well as my chair. And because it was like, oh, past this certain amount, you don't have to pay for shipping, or like there's a discount if you throw this in, whatever. I ended up getting myself a monitor arm for one of my two monitors, and it was pretty good. But up until recently, whenever I was like doing really rough actions with my tablet or drawing with like hand cam, I would have like this very annoying like chunka 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 noise where that was like my monitor shaking on top of my desk. So now that's not really an issue anymore, and I'm just glad that I don't need to listen to it anymore, because it was very distressing. I was worried it would tip over, and I would accidentally impale it with my pen when it fell over. Which isn't that realistic of a fear. But not impossible. Okay, I need to do the stars and the ring, and after that, let's finish up the face, and then we can do the stars and the ring. And the ribbon up there too, of course. Okay. The good news is that we don't need to do a whole lot of shadows for the face, I feel like. Mostly because the makeup is going to conceal a lot of like what we need. And because it's on from a head-on perspective like this. Maybe slightly more orange. That's more like it. We can add a little bit of texture on the lips too. Just a tiny bit. And some shine. And that should be good for shading the lips, unless we can also do a slightly lighter tone right here. But that's going to be difficult since it's already very close to white. That's honestly pretty good. The teeth, maybe a slight yellow. Nah, blue is probably better. That is barely perceptible. We need a little bit more heat on that one. I'm moving like fucking Rothko over here. These colors are barely different from one another. There we go. That is actually, that's on the visible spectrum at least. Okay. Something I need to remember is having a huge little ball thing here. That's just going to be pure white. Oh, that looks so cute, actually. Alright, and then for the eyes. It reminds me a little bit of like a... I feel like there's a whole Kirby stage in there. It's really cute. Okay, let's start with the one thing that I can see the most clearly, which is the pink that is behind the star. And then after that, there's this kind of lighter blue down here. And it goes back to the normal blue in the middle. Anything else? I think other than that, there's just a little speck of yellow here and there. Let me just grab these sections here. Fuck, I really... All of a sudden... Do you ever, like, get the sudden urge to re-listen to into an entire album? Whoops. That's a crop button. Shouldn't have pressed that. For some reason, I just got the urge to re-listen to the entirety of Plastic Beach by Gorillaz. It's a really good album, but I've never felt that before. I've never had that feeling of like, oh man, I should like drop everything and I should go listen to Gorillaz. Drop everything and listen to Gorillaz. A Nintendo employee trying to explain the concept of Cranky Kong to a new hire back in the 80s. Cute, okay. Maybe we'll do some work on the whatchamacallit, the eyelashes too, because as they are, it's a little bit, because I'm using black as the color for the line art, I feel like the color that they were before is a little bit too bright. But we can definitely use that for the highlight sections. We can use a slightly darker shadow for the inside of the ears here, just to show that there is something going on under the hood. Under the earlobe, as it were. I do imagine that like doing the ear cleaning ASMR on an elf would involve very much like almost like that. You remember how like for older cars you have to have that little stick propping up the hood whenever you went to work on them? I feel like you would almost need something like that. Like it'd be a whole production really to just get really get in there. Okay, what else are we missing? The hair is good. We still need to do the stars though. Speaking of which, I've kind of done a 180 on the stars. I'm thinking that the way that I shaded them earlier is not so pleasing to the eye now. I think I've grown and matured as a person to admit that. What might help a little bit is first doing the shading on the ring. And for that one, I'm just going to follow my instincts. Okay. And now I need to shrink the selection by around 5 pixels so that we have this little bit... maybe 10 pixels, actually. So we have this little bit of space to work with here. Okay, grab this, reduce by 5. Okay, and then we're going to have this. Honestly, I think this is working pretty good. I didn't have a super solid plan going into it, but I think it's going pretty well. That describes like 80% of my creative process on stream. Honestly, it's a good thing that I started doing this whole thing back when I was like 21, because the idea of like having zero plan and going into something raw dogging the whole ordeal is now a little terrifying to me. I've lost that edge. But I guess, you know, thankfully because I've gotten accustomed to it. I do think that the kind of people skills that I developed, oddly enough, as a streamer, have helped me a lot in my day job. And a little bit of vice versa. A lot of the people skills and soft skills that I developed on my day job kind of helped me out as a streamer. 90% of the tangents that I go on are just me asking random questions and then trying to build on those questions. And that's something that I learned during my day job. I think an underrated. A lot of people talk a good game about like how humor is just something unexpected happening, but I do think an important component of it, of entertainment at least, is not just having that humor, but also being able to kind of hold its hand and let it take you somewhere. I think that's something that I've been getting better at little by little, is just being able to take that story and not immediately bail whenever it's not going anywhere. Sometimes I still bail on it because I think it's the right decision, but other times I also like entertain it, and you know, maybe I find some kindness in it. Maybe I find something unexpected in it. It's a satisfying process. Okay, and then over here. Maybe a little bit differently. I do think we need to squeeze the middle of the ring as much as possible. Really cinch up that corset, so to speak. It's looking pretty good so far. I'm not sure what to add here, though. This one feels like... Actually, that feels like a good compromise. Okay, and then... maybe blending it out instead of using the soft eraser this time. Okay... Actually, that's a good idea. We can do like a sort of inner shine on the shadow. That at least breaks up some of the monotony of having it be a single solid color. Though I'm not sure about the technical accuracy of this. No, that's not right. Although maybe on the inside it might be... or maybe... No, that's not right. What am I, oh, hang on. I know what might help a little bit. Scratching the hell out of it with the hatching brush. Okay, what if we just go back to how it was when it was solid? Yeah, okay, that's actually much better. You know what? Let's not overhand. Hang on. Hang on. I know exact. I think I've got an idea for what I need to do. All right, same thing, but instead of the same color, it's slightly darker at the bottom. Oh yeah, okay. That was it. That was the secret sauce. That was all it was missing. Yeah, I just needed a darker color. Okay, let's use the blending tool a little bit. Then maybe just a little bit more here and there. It may not so much as a bright spot, but like, hang on. Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah, that'll do. Let's not go too ham on it. I think we have gone sufficiently ham. The ring has been cured. That being said, it does give us a useful palette for making the stars on the outside of the cape. Whenever I see a star like this, I just remember that one meme that somebody made of a star that looks like Eno saying, "Good job, you blocked my mix." Oh wait, actually, oh, hang on. I think I know what I need to do for the stars now as well. Okay, so we shrink down the stars. We grab the darker color here. And then we grab the lighter color. We grab the lighter color. No, that's not quite what I had in mind. Let's try that again. Okay, I think I know what to do now. No. Unless... Hang on. Oh. No. Maybe it does need to be the... Or actually, hang on. Third potential idea. Huh. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Let's try this for a second here. Something about it is clicking, but some of the thing also isn't. Not quite. Maybe the pure white for the little circles? Do they need to be a lighter color? Yeah, they need to be a lighter color. I was gonna say, maybe we can do it, maybe we can flip it up and do a darker color, but that makes zero sense. Okay, we can try something like that. Yeah, okay. We'll just kind of do what comes natural, I guess. I feel like that's the best option here. Not quite. How'd I do it for this one? Right, I used a slightly lighter color. Okay, we'll do that for this one. This is really hurting my head. It's important to have to stumble into roadblocks like this one. Here I thought I was hot shit because I'd figured out metal shading, but here comes these little stars. On a mission from God himself to humble me. It is necessary. I do think I am the kind of person who lets shit get to his head easily, so I do think having to be challenged like this constantly is very important for me, just from an ego perspective. No, that doesn't look right. But maybe just a little bit of airbrush right here. Yeah, I don't think that would be a miss. We should use a little bit of the darker colors for the hair texture too. Okay, we can use a slightly dark color for the blue as well. We can actually borrow this one here from the ribbon. And it'll fit pretty well. Okay. The other stars, right. These ones are actually going to be a little bit simpler since they're pure white to begin with, so I'm just going to... do something like that for them. Okay, and then over here. Yeah, I think that's sufficient for the stars all over the place like this one. Okay, and now we can just do a little bit of quick work on the nails. Nothing too fancy. Just a nice little bit of shading for each of them. And same over here. Whenever I have to, like, travel across the screen like that, I do worry that I'm going to end up giving somebody, like, motion sickness. Quite possibly myself. Thankfully, I don't think that's happened yet. Just gotta move quickly enough that nobody notices. Okay, how do we approach this? Okay. Nice, alright. And then... I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit, and then... just gonna join them like this. It's kind of a scary part of the art process where you have to kind of just let your vision and focus and make random squiggles. scariest part is that it almost always works out. I don't know if there's some kind of moral to be taken from that. There probably is, but I don't really care for it at the moment. Besides, any morality that has to do with like becoming a squiggly line on a piece of paper is something that you need to really have a strong think of whether it applies to your situation. I've seen people lose it all going worm mode. It's truly the double-edged sword of our time. Okay, then over here. Yay. Okay, and then we can just add some nice highlights to the ribbon. All right. Could we just like add a dark blue background on that and call it a day? Am I missing anything? Because if not, I think we can wrap up here for tonight. This one took a long time. Two full sessions, because this has also been like a proper 2.5-ish, 2 hour 40 session. But I think the results speak for themselves. We gotta get that text out of here, like right now. Up. Alright, that's probably on this layer. We can just, yep. All right. Am I forgetting anything? No, I think we're good. All right, if that's the case, I will see you all on Thursday for the last art fight attack we'll probably be able to fit into this season. That's going to be exciting. In the meantime, I hope you all can take it easy. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And yeah, enjoy yourself. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.